which is a branch of the White House. OMB didn't respond to our requests. The Treasury directed us to comments made by the OMB director, Russell Vought, in October, in which he predicted that as the pandemic eases, the economic growth rebounds. The fiscal picture will improve, he said. The OMB blamed legislators for deficits when Trump submitted his proposed 2021 budget. Unfortunately, the Congress continues to reject any efforts to restrain.
Could your dog use...
Hold on. We are also omitting all of the commercials. So that is Senator Cory Booker as he continues to filibuster. And a lot of folks aren't really, I guess, covering this. I've been working all day and kind of had this out in the background. And we are having our Mr. Smith goes to Washington moment. Some folks go back and forth. They're like, I wish he had done this on the continuing resolution for the budget. I believe this was in response to some more appointments. Look, take the territory where you can. Draw the attention to what's happening. I know he was just in the middle of talking about about OMB, which would be the part of the White House, the administrative part of the White House, the Office of Management and Budgets, that blockaded funding, federal funding to Medicare, Medicaid programs, to federally funded programs across the country, and caused all that chaos back in February. And of course, the courts deemed that they could not do that, which was an effort to execute what the head of legal counsel for OMB wants to do. His name is Mark Paoletta, and he was the one that wrote the Ukraine memo, the quid pro quo memo. Basically, we will not give President Zelensky. This is back in 2019. They said, look, we are not going to give you any support, any financial support, which had already been designated by Congress. Again, that was something that was approved by Congress. That they hold the purse strings, and they were like, unless you get us some dirt on Hunter Biden, because we want to be able to attack. It's so even funny, like when we think about Hunter Biden and all the image, they held up images of him, like Marjorie Taylor Greene, basically, performing sextortion, right? You know, when you use somebody's sexual behavior to punish them, it's porn revenge porn is what they call that. And it's just the most disgusting thing. And within they've been there for less than 3 months, and the ineptitude that these people have displayed, their inability to follow the rules and do the right thing and be leaders that we believe in. And that was anyway. So Mark Paoletta, who is chief counsel for OMB, blockaded funding for programs across the country, and because they want the Supreme Court to decide that yes, the president can decide to withhold funding. Like, that's the whole thing. I'm not sure if that's where he was heading.
How much they're going to cost, but we're going to play a game, it looks like, here, unless more Americans speak up. Republican and Democrat, people who know numbers, who know what we're doing to future generations in this country. This is wrong, and I say again, this is not right or left. It is right or wrong. This is a moral moment in America. What are we going to do? I'm so glad my friend, the senator from Hawaii, is here.
So this is Senator Cory Booker, who is at over, I believe does anyone know if he's hit 24 hours yet? Because I think they said he started speaking yesterday at 6, which would be Eastern time. So right now that's past 6 o'clock in D.C., so that would be over 24 hours on the Senate floor. He has been delivering this marathon speech that lasted all night, of course, through today. And he wants to, this is a feat of endurance to show that Democrats are ready to lead and lead the resistance to the White House executing really horrible policies. Oh, let's see what's happening here.
And I remember I got through.
I think that they're allowed to take questions
by eating a
point of order. I'm not sure what this part of the.
So I thank you, the senator from New Jersey, for continuing to provide me with M&Ms. I want to thank you, Senator Booker, for standing here for hours on end to push back, to fight against this administration's lawlessness. And in fact, a reporter asked me today, do you think this is a good use by Senator Booker of his 25 hours to be on the floor to do this? And I said, anytime
Senator Booker,
any of us gets up and use our voices to fight against the lawlessness of this administration, it is a good use of our time. So thank you, Senator Booker, for yielding to me and for standing up to the American people. And is it making a difference? Millions of people are watching you, Senator Booker. Millions have watched and are watching you. It's making a difference.
We'll check back in as this marathon speech continues and see how you guys are doing. We are going to have Mike Nellis on in just a little bit to talk about this marathon filibuster, and that will be coming up in just a little bit. Mike Nellis will join us at 5:15. So Jim joins us now in Chicago. How you doing, my friend?
Hi, Betty. What a day. Jimmy Stewart's on the Senate floor. What are we doing in Wisconsin?
Well, that's what I mean. That's what I'm waiting to hear.
I know. I know. You work so hard, and everybody's worked so hard there.
Well, did you see? I know that you watch a lot of the news, and a lot of folks listening do. On my way over, I saw an interview of a family that was, hadn't really thought much about this special election, probably wouldn't have voted, but it was Musk. It drew their attention, and they were ticked off that he was getting involved in there. So I told you this last week. I'm hoping that that's how Wisconsin replies. We are not for sale. Anyone in Wisconsin who has not voted yet, tell him you are not for sale. Anyway, Jim, what's on your mind?
No, I was going to say, Bobby Kennedy Jr., everybody's running for the head physician for the United States. He quit unceremoniously last week. You've got 2,000 physicians around Ivy League schools and so on and so forth that signed a petition that said he's absolutely cracked. You just had a horrible in Waukegan. They had a tuberculosis case. The Republicans are so, they won't get vaccinated because of QAnon or something. That started during the pandemic.
Well, the vaccinations in general, that was so. I don't know if you used to listen to, RFK Jr. used to be on this station with, it was sort of. I
remember.
And that was when I was like, oh, this is interesting. And then I started following some of his work because I was hearing him on the station, right? And some of their stuff about faith and religion and politics, was interesting to me. But then I started following this stuff about vaccinations that he was sharing about. But this is a long time ago. He has had a negative. He and other people have had a detrimental impact on a lot of people's lives. I think he and people who espouse this long before COVID, and I think that they led into what happened during the pandemic. This misinformation, believing lies, and because he and other people said it was trimerisol, that was what caused autism, that there were chemicals in there. It's been disproven. It's been completely disproven, debunked. Sorry.
I remember he grabbed onto autism. But what's interesting, he got plenty of money from the merchandise mark. He's got millions from that. What is he? I don't get it. He's a lawyer. So in other words, I got a couple half-witted lawyers in my family. Instead of going to the doctor, I'll call them up if I need a couple of pills or something. I mean, I guess they're just as good as any doctor. Is there a difference between a law degree and a doctor?
not good as these people. Yeah. No.
Anyway, keep us posted on this election. What do you think the results will start coming in?
Well, I think once the polls close, I don't think we're going to get anything. I think hopefully, I'm hoping by 7:30. I of course hope for a shellacking and overwhelming numbers.
Show us what it is early.
Jim, I got to figure out a way to get you. So I'm working on this book called Chicago Girl, and I talk about how my parents met. Kind of their backstory, a little bit about where they came from. I wish, and I know you're not online, right? You don't. You do you go like?
No. Not until they straighten that out. Who was? There was a professor from your school that died this week. And he talked about it, how it's become a conglomerate. He thought it'd be a democratic
the internet in general
device. Yeah, the internet in general. How it's turned into something that he never thought it would be. He thought when it originally started 20 years ago, it would be a democratic kind of device.
Well, no one decided, or no one took enough initiative. There wasn't a sense of urgency to figure out how to manage it. With whether it was even newspapers never really figured out how to grapple with the fact that people wanted news stories for free, and that's just not how. That was never going to be a way to monetize or could sustain journalism in a way that was not where we are now. Right? We also didn't have regulations verifying sites that truly are journalism, that are certifiable. But we definitely didn't do
Right. And what's distracting about it is, I guess that certain people will follow a personality or another personality, and that's not my cup of tea. I don't follow anybody, so I'm not. I just try to follow the news, and that's it. But I don't follow personalities. But anyway, Patty, what were you going to say about the book?
I was going to say, I think you might. Yeah, I've got a couple chapters up on Substack. It's called Chicago Girl. Folks want to follow the Patti Vasquez show page, but I got to figure out a way to get you copies of the chapters I'm writing, just to get your thoughts. This one I talk a little bit about my dad gambling. When the book's ready, you'll have a copy, Jim.
All right, I will, Patty. Yeah, I'd love to read it. And good luck with it, because I think you'd write a terrific book. Anyway, Patty, thank you very much, dear. Thank you.
Thank you so much. It's kind of almost not nearly as much my writing as it is the people in my life who have brought so much color and adventures from my mom's experiences of coming here and creating a new life for herself, and then which led to an incredible life being here in Chicago, raising my boys, meeting the love of my life, and of course my father's background. I am the daughter of an immigrant and the great-granddaughter of immigrants. My great-grandmother, Maggie O'Doyle, came here from Ireland. My mother came to the United States in 1968 from Mexico. And that's kind of the stories that I'm trying to weave together, and everything that's happened along the way. So that's Chicago Girl, available. I've got 2 chapters available on Substack. If you follow Patti Vasquez Show on Facebook, you can get a link to that landing page on Substack. Would love to have you follow me there. It's free. It's totally free to subscribe. If you want to support me, and I'll be sharing some videos and some images and photos throughout my family's history, and some Chicago history photos as well. I have to tell folks about this, but I went to Adam Selzer's cemetery tour on Saturday, and I totally forgot that there's a story about me in the cemetery tour, and I'll tell you guys about that later on. It's me and Minnie Minoso. It was so funny because I started getting weepy when I realized that Adam was going to turn it over to me for a minute. I'm like, oh my God, I totally forgot about this. And Adam has added me to the tour. So thank you so much to Adam Selzer, everyone that was there this past Saturday. And of course, thank you to everybody that went door knocking in Wisconsin. We're going to talk about that with Mike Nellis when we come back. Thank you to all of our sponsors, Source Solar, Monaco Brewing Company, our friends at Are You Really Winning? Thank you so much for all your support. More after this on WCPT 820, Heartland Signal. And KKNW,
Chicago.
If you think of every single thing from the Supreme Court to deporting these poor immigrants who are just trying to work hard and feed their families and have a better life, to the trans community that was thrown under the bus, you just wonder, where will the hate, where will the fear end? And if you keep thinking about it, like I just mentioned, it's a nowhere street mentally.
Catch Out Chicago every Sunday, 11 to 1 on WCPT 820.
This is a WCPT moment in labor. When Serena Williams won her title at the Tennis Grand Slam tournament, we know she gets the same prize money as her male counterpart. However, prior to 1973, that wasn't always the case. When Billie Jean King captured her first Wimbledon title in 1966, she was surprised to find out that the winner of the men's tournament received £2,000, while she only received £750. After being unable to find any tournaments for women, King and 8 other women formed their own tournament, the Virginia Slims Invitational, where each woman was paid $1 before posing for the famous picture of them each holding up their dollar, with the caption, "Contract Pros." While the move was bold, the pay discrepancies continued. King threatened to boycott the 1973 U.S. Open unless the women were paid the same as the men. Thanks to a grant from Band Deodorant, both the men and women singles would take home $25,000. Despite the progress at the U.S. Open, it wouldn't be until 1984 that the Australian Open would execute equal pay, followed by the French Open in 2006, and finally Wimbledon in 2007. This has been a WCPT moment in labor. We're fighting for your rights.
You're listening to WCPT 820, because facts matter.
If you're listening to this station right now, you've definitely heard my voice before. Hi, I'm Hawk.
And I'm Pete. And we're with Source Solar, your local source for solar. Source Solar is Chicagoland's premier solar installer, providing solutions for over 1,000 homeowners and business owners across Illinois and Iowa.
With over a decade of industry experience and deep roots here in Chicago, we have the expertise to help your transition to clean, renewable, resilient energy.
We can guarantee that we save you money day one without any out-of-pocket cost to you. This means you have an instant ROI, instant payback, and can save money to add to your bottom line day one.
At Source Solar, we source everything as local as possible, meaning we always carry the Made in USA sticker.
Find us online at www.source.solar. Stop in our office at 5710 North Northwest Highway or give us a call at 773-985-3992.
And don't forget to ask for Hawk
Or Pete.
You're listening to Driving It Home with Patti Vasquez.
For over 23 hours, Senator Cory Booker has held the floor in the Senate chamber. And joining us right now to talk a little bit about this is Mike Nellis, former senior advisor for Kamala Harris and founder and CEO of Authentic, a Chicago-based political fundraising and consulting firm. Mike, it's been a minute. A lot's happened since we last saw each other. Was the last time we talked on election night?
I think it might have been. I think it might have been. I try not to think about it.
Yeah, me neither. I have to burn that white suit. By the way, you know, I think I told you that I had worn it in the 2016 election. Now I definitely have to burn it. I usually don't like to think of things that way. At any rate, okay. First of all, let's catch up with you for a moment. I don't ask people how they're doing. I ask if they're staying hydrated. Are you staying hydrated, my friend? Are you doing self-care?
I am. I am doing self-care. I've actually lost about 50 pounds since January 1.
Have you really? Congratulations.
Yeah.
Did you need to? Okay.
Thank you.
All right.
Yeah.
Is that stress?
I'm a pretty big guy. I mean, no, it's not stress. This is maybe TMI for your audience, but I used to weigh about 600 pounds, and a couple years ago I started to really get my life in order, and I started the year probably about 400 pounds, having lost about 200, and I needed to get back on the track and started working out every day and eating right, and I decided to take all my stress and use it the right way instead of the wrong way.
Oh, congratulations. I think a lot of us need to do more of that. I realized that I was relying on having a cocktail too much, and I've decided that I need to be focused, and I need to get back in shape too. So I needed to sort of first of all, get some things back in balance. So congratulations on that. And that's inspirational. That's
What's your cocktail of choice, Patty?
Oh boy, I like bourbon. So I was having I like I like a really good old fashioned. So I skipped it this weekend when I was door knocking in Wisconsin. By the way, we were up in Wisconsin helping out with those races. Now I'm trying to remember the last time I saw a filibuster. What was the last? I know people are talking about this and the history of this. Let's start there first about the history of the filibuster. Because if I was to be asked, in my memory, I would say Jimmy Stewart and Mr. Smith Goes to Washington is my last recollection. But I know there've been more.
Yeah, I always think about the Patton Oswalt filibuster from Parks and Recreation.
Nice.
I don't know if you're familiar with the show.
Also, yes,
but it's one of my favorite TV clips of all time. I mean, the filibuster's been around forever. I think in recent times the most famous ones were Ted Cruz and Rand Paul sort of trying to shut down the government and using the filibuster for that purpose.
Oh,
and
that's right.
Highly counterproductive. I mean, Ted Cruz spoke for something like 19 hours, which sounds very painful to me. Have to listen to that man talk for that long.
Yes, agreed.
The record for the longest filibuster is a little over 24 hours, and it's currently held by Strom Thurmond, who is one of America's greatest racists. He was literally filibustering the Civil Rights Act of 1957. And it seems like we're about an hour, 90 minutes away maybe from Cory Booker potentially breaking that record today, and I think that would be a pretty special moment.
Yeah, I had no idea. How has nobody been able? I would, if I were there, I would find a reason to break Strom Thurmond, who didn't want schools to be desegregated and didn't want black people to have access to opportunities and all those things. So yeah, first of all, love that it's Cory Booker. So my understanding is this is in reaction to some more appointments. Is there more that you're learning about why now, why him, and some of the behind the scenes elements that we might not be privy to?
Yeah, I think what Cory's been saying, I think, is the reason he's doing this is he wants to shed a light on what the Trump administration is doing, and the media isn't doing its job to properly explain this. So he's going to hold up the business for the Senate for as long as he can. And he spent the better part of the last 24 hours not doing what you see on TV, where people are reading cookbooks and reading the rules of blackjack, like on the West Wing. He's reading personal stories from people in his state of New Jersey who are being impacted by what Donald Trump and Elon Musk are doing to this country. He told a beautiful story about a sad story about a woman who was worried about losing her health care for her father, who was going through, I think, either dementia or Alzheimer's, and then started talking about his own father's struggle with that. I highly recommend people go take a look at it because he got super emotional, and it happened at like 4 or 5 in the morning before as many people are paying attention. I mean, apparently like 155 million views or something on TikTok today because Corey's been streaming it on his TikTok and Instagram pages. But he's doing it, I think, the right way. He's demanding attention. And at a time where I think we all agree Democrats have not done a very good job fighting the worst of what Trump and Musk are doing right now, Cory Booker is paving the way forward for us to be able to do that. He's demanding our attention. He's calling them out for what they are, and he's not doing it in a, self-aggrandizing way. He's doing it by lifting up the stories of other people, and that, I think, matters a great deal.
Yeah, I mean, what they have gotten in there and disrupted, when it comes to whether it's Doge or the ineptitude of so many people at higher levels, with the Signalgate. I guess whiskey. What do you prefer, Signalgate or Whiskey Leaks? I think Whiskey Leaks is probably one of my favorites for what they did.
Pretty good. I hadn't heard that until now. I've been calling it Signalgate. I kind of instinctually hate the fact that every scandal has to have the word "gate" after it. But it's just the whole thing's just idiotic. I mean, you can't be sharing war plans on a Signal thread. Like, come on.
No, it's so crazy. I mean, that's the problem, right? Is that there's so many things happening so fast, so it just with not even a shred of professionalism. I mean, that's kind of part of it too. Like watching the press secretary basically just like, Trump says he wants to be president for a third term, and technically it would be the fourth because he won. What are we even doing here, Mike? I'm sorry, I shouldn't start screaming because I need to stay hydrated. Go ahead.
I take Trump seriously when he says that he wants to have a third term, but I know in this moment what he's trying to do is distract us from what he's actually doing, which is hurting a whole heck of a lot of people. On Signalgate, I don't know if you saw this today, but out now that Mike Waltz has been using his Gmail instead of his government account to pass confidential information around. And it's a huge problem, both because, one, people inside the administration are leaking against Mike Waltz trying to get him fired, and then Donald Trump is refusing to fire him or Pete Hegseth, both of whom are broadly incompetent human beings who should not be in their job. Look, if you or I were working at the Defense Department or in any other part of the federal government and we were using Signal to pass notes between one another, we would have gotten fired, and rightfully so.
Absolutely.
And Donald Trump is too much of a wuss to fire these people for gross incompetence.
Yeah, and that's the thing is we talk about how, we wish the Dems would lead and that kind of stuff, but the Dems don't have power, but judges do. Do you think that the request for, I think one of the ways they're suing this administration is not preserving the records. Is that your understanding? Is that's one path to they're required to make sure that they're doing things according to law, right?
The best avenue that we have right now is through the courts to stop anything that they're doing, and at a minimum try to get them to, preserve the records so that later we can go back and be like, what the heck did you do? Because clearly, look, the reason they're using Signal for this is the same reason they're using it for God knows what else and with who and whomever, is because they're trying to hide what they're doing. And there's a ton of criminality going on right now. I believe this to be the most corrupt administration in American history, and that's really saying something because we've had some awfully corrupt administrations if you go back and look through American history. But these guys are deregulating everything. They're laying off people whose job is to keep us safe. And I think a lot about, there's all these crypto scams out there. Donald Trump's got this, $1 billion meme coin, and you've got the Haktua girl who had this meme coin and she scammed a bunch of her followers out of a bunch of money. And Donald Trump laid off everybody at the SEC whose job it was to enforce current law on crypto companies, which means right now the crypto world exists without any regulations whatsoever from the federal government. So Trump can get away with scamming his people, and Haktua can get away with scamming her people, and that is playing out in a myriad of different ways all throughout the federal government right now. And what's happening is rich people who already have so much money and power now have more money and power than they've ever had before. At a time when Donald Trump is crashing the economy, people are losing their jobs, groceries are more expensive, housing is completely unaffordable for 95% of Americans, and regular people are getting ripped off right now, but Elon Musk has never been richer. I'm getting played off, it sounds like.
No. I'm going to keep you on. I have to play you off because I have a tight clock. We also broadcast in Seattle, Washington this hour on KKNW 1150 AM Alternative Talk. Can you stay for another segment? I'm not walking you off. Just I'm bringing it.
Yeah, no, I can. Totally.
Think of it more as an intro to the weather update. We'll take a break here and continue with Mike Nellis in just a moment on WCPT 820 Heartland Signal.
You're listening to WCPT 820. Here's the latest Chicago weather update.
I'm meteorologist Ray Miller from the Weatherology Weather Center. Scattered showers and storms are likely tonight. Some of those could produce some heavy rainfall. We'll see a low of 40 degrees. Wednesday, showers and storms with 1 to 2 inches of rain and a high temperature of 68. Southeast winds at up to 40 miles an hour. On Thursday, partly sunny skies with a high of 57 degrees. Friday, chance of showers with a high near 50. Saturday, rain likely once again with a high of 48. That's the latest Chicago weather update. Right now, it's 43.
This is Chicago's Progressive Talk, 820 AM, WCPT Willow Springs, and online at WCPT820.com, where facts matter. The Hal Sparks radio program.
Walmart's financial chief, John David Rainey, said tariffs are going to be inflationary. There is no disputing that. Walmart has said these costs are going to be passed on to the consumer. 60 to 70% of the things that are in your local Walmart come from China. It might as well be an Alibaba outlet store. And they're about to find out the hard way.
Hal Sparks, Saturdays from 11 to 1 on WCPT 820, Chicago's Progressive Talk. Alexa, play WCPT.
WCPT from TuneIn.
DuPage County continues to get out the vote and elect progressive candidates, so it's no wonder that there are now several local retailers carrying progressive beer from Minocqua Brewing Company. Be sure to grab yours from Famous Liquors in Lombard, Arminetti Beverage Mart in Roselle, Doty Liquors in Elmhurst, and Bobby's Liquor Warehouse in Carroll Stream, conveniently located next door to the DuPage County Democratic Office. A full list of Illinois locations that offer the Resistance lineup of beers posted at the top of the Patti Vasquez Show Facebook page, as well as at MinocquaBrewingCompany.com.
You're listening to Driving It Home with Patti Vasquez.
I should tell my guests that we have new music for when I have to go. But we didn't mean for Mike Nellis to think that we didn't want to keep talking to him. Mike Nellis joins us on the line. We've been talking about Senator Cory Booker's marathon filibuster. He's going to break the record in about, I think it's in a half an hour. It would be 25 hours. Do you know, Mike?
That sounds about right. It's either 30 minutes or 45 minutes. I'm not sure.
Right. He, I heard him on a hot mic when he was getting a question from a colleague that he was going to go to 25 hours, and he looks kind of like he's getting fired up again. I remember when I've never liked to go running. I know we were talking about health a little bit earlier. I hate running, but there are some people who like pace themselves so they can have like a quick burst at the end, and that's kind of what he looks like he's doing here. You know what I mean?
I can't believe he's been going for this long, but I'll say that I've met him several times, and he probably has more energy than any other human being I've ever met. So he's the right man for the moment to be doing this. But I would have crapped out at 90 minutes probably.
90 minutes? Oh, come on. I think you're passionate about things. You can find more time. But yeah, I agree. 25 hours. That is remarkable when it's not staged for West Wing. There was somebody else. I don't know if it was like I feel like there was a woman, a character that was like that she was trying to get through. I feel like it was Gina Davis or somebody like that. But at any rate, we're not talking about that. We're talking about real life, because real life has gotten very complicated under this administration. Yeah. While he's heading towards this record filibuster, let's turn our attention for a moment to these special elections. I know in Florida there are 2 races. Let's start there. I guess folks aren't that optimistic that either one of the Democrats are going to win. Do you have any thoughts in that regard? Because I think that Josh Weil brought it pretty close within 4 points of polling.
Yeah, I'm not optimistic about either Florida race. But what I will say is both of those races are R plus 30, which means there's 30% more Republicans in the district than there are Democrats, which is a significant number. And the fact that these races are even remotely competitive is unbelievable. And the Democrats have run good campaigns in both. I think the Republicans have put up historically bad candidates. But Republicans have spent so much time trying to gaslight us into this belief that Donald Trump won an historic landslide, that he has this massive mandate, and yet they're losing special elections all across the country right now. So if any of these 2 Florida races are within 15 points, that will be a tremendous disaster for them. It will mean that there have been a 12 to 20-point swing from the previous election where Republicans barely eked out a victory in all three chambers. So they're losing ground right now. Now, that doesn't mean Democrats are popular. We've got a lot of work to do to win people back. But Republicans are in rough electoral shape right now, and I think today's elections are going to show that.
Well, I appreciate that, and thank you for filling us in even better with the background information on that, because I think some people are a little bit optimistic, and some folks are like, who cares if we narrow the margin, you have to run for every office. But I think it does make a dent. I do think it shows vulnerability. I know when I've talked to like state electeds, they talk about like if you can't win by more than 20%, especially if you're an incumbent, if you have the power of the party, all of those things are important elements that I guess people on the inside look at more than maybe we do, because we see things as wins and losses, don't you think?
Mm-hmm. I think most people do see wins and losses. They treat it like sports, but there's a tremendous organizing value and power to competing in these races. And in my opinion, Democrats have for too often just tried to be like, well, we're going to pick like the 10 states and the 20 most competitive congressional districts, and we're only going to play in those districts. And what we've done is we've wiped out state Democratic parties all across the country. We have not invested locally, and we've lost opportunities to make ground. Meanwhile, Republicans can compete in as many races as humanly possible. Elon Musk has dumped like millions and millions of dollars into this Wisconsin Supreme Court race that's happening today too. And we don't have, in my opinion, anything even remotely equivalent to something like that. That's a problem because, yes, maybe in these two districts we're not going to win in the Florida special elections, but we might be able to win down ballot races that will have an impact on the local communities there, that will give us opportunities for the future to elevate new Democrats statewide or in congressional races in Florida. We should be doing that in all 50 states.
Yeah, but I mean, how do you compete with somebody who bought the entire country with $250 million? $1 billion. Was it million? 250, right? Just 250 million was what he bought us for?
250 million, yeah, something like that. I mean, he's been offering people, $1 million to show up to his rallies that he's having in Wisconsin right now, which is just totally bananas. But the way you compete about it, look, money in politics is obviously super important, and Democrats do a great job of competing on the money front through small dollar contributions, bringing people together to raise, millions of dollars online. There's a limit to what the money can do, and I think we're going to see that. Like, we were grossly outspent by Elon Musk in this last election. Democrats made a lot of mistakes in the way we handled last year and how we handled, I think, the economy over the last couple of years. We still damn near almost won the election last year. So there's a limit to what all that spending can do, and we shouldn't get demoralized by the fact that one incredibly out-of-touch billionaire wants to buy our elections. We have to fight back, and I'm hopeful and optimistic that we're going to win this Wisconsin race today and deal a pretty severe blow to Elon Musk.
Yeah, I agree. As I mentioned, we've been going door knocking up in Wisconsin, especially in Elkhorn, Wisconsin, where they do have, it's 45% Dems in Walworth County, Wisconsin, and they do a lot of work, but they definitely need the support of, when folks say, what do they think when you're coming, you have out of towners, or obviously I'm a fib, and I leaned into that, Mike. It's fibs for Wisconsin. But I mean, I truly, how can I compare it to Elon Musk bringing in over, this race, bringing it up over $25 million for a Supreme Court race? It doesn't, but you're right. It's the passion. It's the manpower. What are your, nobody can be confident about this, but what are your thoughts in regards to how it's looking in Wisconsin?
Yeah. Well, I'm done being confident about election outcomes because the last time you and I talked, I was pretty adamant that I thought Kamala Harris was going to win on election day in November.
So was I.
And it was close. Right. We're both wrong, and I think we need to eat our crow on that one. But I think that the Wisconsin Democratic Party, which is run by my friend Ben Wickler, is an incredible organization. They know exactly what they're doing. They're very well organized. The candidate that they're running is an exceptional candidate, and the Republicans are running an exceptionally bad candidate, in my opinion. So I think we've got a great opportunity to win today. I think we're in a position where I believe that we're going to win tonight. I wouldn't be surprised if we didn't, because special elections are very hard to poll and very hard to forecast for, because the electorates are just very hard to predict. But I think we've got a good shot, and the question is going to be whether or not this last 10 days of Elon Musk meddling in this election will have brought out enough Republican vote today, because the early vote has been overwhelmingly Democratic.
I'm hoping so. One of the things I really I'm interested to see, because I saw a family being interviewed that they weren't even thinking about this election until they saw that Musk came in, and it rubbed them the wrong way. I see potential for, I'm hoping for that backlash, don't you think? That's what I'm hoping for.
Elon Musk is incredibly unpopular. He's dragging down Donald Trump. He's dragging down the Republican Party. I've seen his approval rating as low as in the 30%. So I think that people just don't like the idea of a billionaire having this much control and influence in our government, and they also don't like the way he's going about it. I mean, I'm the first Democrat to tell you there's a ton of waste, fraud, and abuse in the federal government, but there's a right way and a wrong way to go about weeding it out, and letting an unelected billionaire just root around and try to fix it with a bunch of tech bros and kids is not the right way to go about it. Because how many times have I heard Elon Musk say that we don't have enough money to pay for call centers for Social Security so that seniors can get access to their checks, but we've got plenty of money for rockets. Yeah. For SpaceX that Elon Musk owns. So I don't trust him. I don't think the American people trust him either. And I do think he's more of a detriment to the Republican Party at this point than a benefit.
Well, and to folks who are like, to your point about fraud, whether it's, by the way, if there's fraud, I want to see charging documents. I don't know about you, Mike. I mean, they're saying it. I know, well, it takes time. Well, then don't say you have proof of fraud unless you're willing to make those charges. But secondly, as far as waste, I agree. And this has been done, and it's been done the right way under President Bill Clinton, who took 6 months to study it, to see where they can make these offers. And it took them years to draw down some of the sort of overlapping jobs or places where they can make cuts. They did it thoughtfully, is what you're talking about, the right way. Don't you think?
Exactly. And with transparency, because my biggest frustration here is, with Doge, they're just outright and openly lying to the American people about what they're finding and what they're not finding. They've claimed that they've cut way more money than they've actually cut, and then they're slashing with a great deal of ignorance, and then going out there and saying things like, we found that the federal government was spending $50 billion a year to send condoms to Gaza, which is ridiculous. If you stop and think about how many condoms that is for a second, it's just an absolutely absurd thing. Or in Donald Trump's State of the Union address, they claim the federal government was funding transgender mice, which makes absolutely no sense. It isn't real, and they're just lying about stuff. So that's what I'm sick of. I want the government to be better at spending my tax dollars, but I don't want them to do it in a dumb way that hurts people, and I don't want them to be lying about it.
Well, again, the amount of waste, I think, is going to be compounded by what they're doing, because there are employees that aren't working that are still getting paid. Their employees are going to have to be brought back and then get paid for the time that they were dismissed. I mean, the waste is actually going to pile up. And all these folks who were excited about getting a check, I think he said yesterday or today, Elon said, you're not going to get a check. The savings will just be there. So thank you for that, everybody. Before we go, I want to ask you about tomorrow is Liberation Day, which sounds so creepy when Trump says it, Mike.
Well, tomorrow is Liberation Day, which means Donald Trump is going to be levying tariffs on God knows who and at such high numbers, and it's a big part of the reason the stock market is tanking right now. The thing that I want to say about this probably the most is a preemptive thing that the Trump administration is already doing is they're planning to cut checks to farmers who are going to be hurt significantly by these tariffs. And my question to everyone is, where's everybody else's check? Because our 401ks are being hurt, grocery prices are more expensive, it's impossible to buy a house, and lumber prices are through the roof, so we can't build new houses right now. And then meanwhile, it's never been harder for regular, ordinary Americans to survive. It was already hard before Donald Trump got elected, and it's a big part of why they elected him. He promised to get prices down. Now he's going to be adding a ton of gasoline to a fire, and he's going to call it Liberation Day. The only thing he's liberating is money from your wallet. That's it.
Yeah. Absolutely. What would we like folks to know about going forward, about what we can do? I mean, as we talked earlier, Senator Cory Booker is showing that Dems can lead and resist. What are your thoughts on the path forward for Democrats right now?
Yeah, I think Democrats got to show some spine, and Democrats have to fight. And we got to pick our battles carefully, but we've got to go out there and try. I'd rather try and fail than not try at all, and that's the biggest frustration from the last couple of weeks with Democrats. They haven't tried. And so to see Cory Booker out there throwing punches, that's what matters. To see Bernie Sanders and AOC and Chris Murphy and Maxwell Frost and a whole bunch of other Democrats travel the country to host town halls and go into Republican territory and elevate the stories and the lives of what's happening to people out there right now, that's what we need to be doing, because they are hurting people right now. And Donald Trump's approval rating is falling. It's probably at mid-40s right now. People are happy mostly with immigration, but they're really unhappy with the economy. The economy will trump everything. So continue to hammer them on what they're trying to do to Social Security and Medicare and Medicaid. Hammer them on what they're doing to hurt regular Americans. And we're going to be back in a position. And then we have to be ready to deliver for the American people. That's what we have to be ready to do, because we didn't do enough of that in the last 4 years. We didn't.
Yes! Mike Nellis, sticking the landing. I appreciate your insight and your expertise. And let's not make it so long before you come back on. If you want to join me in studio sometime, please reach out, or we'll reach out and have you back. And I'm glad to hear that you're doing well. I mean, like, considering. I mean, that's the way it really is, isn't it? Doing well considering. That's how I like to put it.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right. Thank
Again,
you, Patty.
of course, my pleasure. Mike Nellis, thank you so much again for joining us. And I know it was kind of last minute, so I appreciate it. Mike Nellis is a former senior advisor for Kamala Harris and founder and CEO of Authentic, a Chicago-based political fundraising and consulting firm. You can go to authentic.org to learn more. Have a great evening. I'll talk to you again soon, my friend.
You too. Thank you.
Take care. Hey, bye. Let's take a break here and take your phone calls when we come back on WCPT 820 Heartland Signal 1150 KKNW in Seattle, Washington. It's just so much fun to say that. That's 1150 a.m. You can tune in there, too. They've got a great lineup.
Chicago's Progressive Talk, WCPT 820, where facts matter.
Oh, all right, then. I guess we'll do this. DuPage County continues to get out the vote and elect progressive candidates. So it's no wonder that there are now several local retailers carrying progressive beer from Minocqua Brewing Company. Be sure to grab yours from Famous Liquors in Lombard, Arminetti Beverage Mart in Roselle, Doty Liquors in Elmhurst, and Bobby's Liquor Warehouse in Carroll Stream, conveniently located next door to the DuPage County Democratic Office. A full list of Illinois locations that offer the Resistance lineup of beer is posted at the top of the Patti Vasquez Show Facebook page, as well as at MinocquaBrewingCompany.com.
Patti Vasquez is taking your calls now.
We need to speak out about this.
At 773-763-9278.
Hello. I was so thrown off by being on time that I hit the wrong button for ads, so I apologized for that repeat of the. But well, you know what? We're going to be in Minocqua. Well, not in Minocqua. It's going to be a bit before I get all the way. Minocqua's like 6 hours away. It's going to be a minute before I do that road trip. But we are going to be in Madison on April 15th, and we have a few more dates locked in that I'll let you know about soon. Again, go to MinocquaBrewingCompany.com. Oh my God, I have to write a piece for tomorrow, but I'm kind of waiting for the results of this election. So I hope that they're okay that I'm going to wait. It's going to be late. Oh my God, my head hurts. Okay, at any rate, I get to write another piece. All right, I'm fine. Everything's fine. Tomorrow on Choose Views, Richard will be joined by 2 Illinois state legislators, Senator Sarah Feigenholtz and Representative Carol Amons, plus Wednesday regular Kurt Mullett, a.k.a. Hoosier Blue 63. That's Choose Views weekdays from 6 to 8 a.m. Central on WCPT 820 a.m., the Heartland Signal website. You can also go to TuneIn, YouTube, and Facebook to catch our shows. And tomorrow I'll be joined again by guest co-host Dwayne Kennedy. Everyone was way excited to have him back, and I'm excited to have him back tomorrow as well. And don't forget, he will be at the Den Theater on April 25th, so make sure you get your tickets for that show. He'll be there with the headliner Kamau Bell. We'll also have we're going to have Lisa Quanton, a special educator from Belleville, who was Representative Nikki Budzinski's guest at President Donald Trump's joint address to Congress last month. So that is coming up, and I know that folks, I'm so sorry for the folks who are looking forward to joining us for our anniversary on May 3rd. Tickets are sold out for our broadcast at Max and Benny's restaurant in Northbrook, but we hope you will tune in that day between 11 and 3 p.m. to hear. Of course, we hope you tune in all the time. Just background noise. Just leave it on. You know what we do for our radio, Lady B? We never turn it off. Just have the volume all the way down, so it's always WCPT, and all I have to do is just turn the volume back up. In my kitchen radio, my bathroom radio, it's always there. It's just easier that way. So you never worry about changing the channel. Except for when my son comes home and he unplugs everything. Now I got to set the time. I got to reset all my favorite stations. Okay. It was great. It was a great spring break with him. I'm still trying to fix all my clocks. I am now that mom. It's just flashing 12 in the bathroom. I gotta fix that clock. At any rate, all right. Debbie from Old Town is on the line. Debbie, how are you doing today?
Hi.
Hey.
Hey, Patty, you're hysterical. I love how you make light of everything. It's like I appreciate that because you know what, we gotta laugh. That's
I appreciate
the main thing in life.
Thank you.
We gotta laugh.
Absolutely.
So after I spoke to you yesterday, we went to the Hideout. Indivisible has a monthly gather there, and they have speakers. And so we went there, and Marge Halpern's there, and her co-person, I don't know his name, was there. We listened to these speakers. It was my husband and I, and we listened to these speakers totally make crap out of the Democratic Party, totally slam them for not doing this and not doing that and not doing anything. I was, my jaw dropped open. Everything that was wrong. No solutions, no hope, no, we got to think this was, nothing. After it was done, and making fun of it, laughing like, isn't that, they did that. It was so embarrassing, and it was so cringeworthy. After that whole debacle, I went up to March Halperin, and I speak out. And I said to her, we had, and I was around like a bunch of people that were like, what? That's ridiculous. And everybody trying to raise their hand. There was no question and answer. Nobody could make a comment. I went up to her afterward and I said, we are in a pants on fire moment here. To listen to people telling us how bad we are and how bad all the bad things we did and how we're not doing anything good and, except Bernie's out there with AOC or, they didn't even go through what the good things that were happening. I came home, my husband and I both left there and looked at each other and said, what the F was that? I was furious. And when I tried to confront Marge Halperin, she basically, she shut me down, she turned her back, and she walked away.
That's disappointing.
And then I'm at the back of the group, I'm at the back of the room, and I'm talking to the people that we were around, and they were all saying, we want to say something, we wanted to. And so she was making a rounds in the room, and she got near us, and I said, excuse me, I have people here that want to comment on what I was talking to. She turned her back, and she wouldn't even acknowledge me and walked away again.
I think for you and me, and I'm trying to be very mindful here for relationships that we have, I think is the best way to put it, because things get very hectic in different places. I'm being very guarded. How's that sound? I'm being very guarded with my thoughts here. I think you and me, where we're coming from, is the work that we're doing in Wisconsin, and we're seeing like they're not doing that, right? The folks in Elkhorn are not making fun of. They're holding Republicans responsible for everything. They are having the meetings. They're having the town hall meetings, and I get that we're in Chicago, and there's sort of this protected sense of we did it right, kind of. I don't know if that's where people are coming from. And look, I would like to see more of my state electeds, with their hair on fire just because we're in a blue state. I mean, the services, the programs that so many people in our communities rely on are in the crapper right now because we don't know how this budget's going to shape up with the withholding of federal funding for, I think it was altogether $334 million to Medicare and Medicaid in the state of Illinois. And I'm seeing so many people not understand these programs. Like I saw someone on one page say, well, if those programs get cut, that's all state run and state funded. They are not. They are federally backed, and there are regulations federally that they manage. So I think that's part of where you and I come from when we hear people like harangue the way Democrats are approaching this. Look, I do think that they're in some ways I feel flat-footed, like not like people kind of adjusting this. I think that Senator Cory Booker, what he's doing today, is what a lot of people are looking for. Yeah.
And also, so we come home and we are just like so down about this. We're like, well, indivisible doesn't seem to be our place. We felt like we had a place to go, to be a part of this movement. And then we came home and it was like, no, they're not. And then I turned on Rachel. And there's Camilla Jayapal talking about all the things that they're doing. She's got this thing called Resistance Lab, and she's doing these amazing things in person and on Zoom and with huge groups, and she's bringing it all over the country. And then I turn on, and Cory Booker's like on for they're still on right now. I've been watching it, and and Chris Murphy's on, and Macy Hirono's on. They're all, a part of this and working really hard to find a way through to resist all this. Why aren't groups like Indivisible coming up with things like resistance labs? They don't. There's a roadmap for that. They do not even need to invent one. She's got one. She put it together. Look at it. It's beautiful. I mean, she was enumerating all the things that they're doing and saying and how they're organizing and gathering. And Indivisible is like, those Democrats, they're not doing anything.
Yeah, I think that like I said, I also want to let you know that Indivisible has a lot. Like, I don't want Indivisible to be shaded by your experience last night. And I'm not saying to go back to. Okay. I've never been to one of the hideout events, but I have been to because there's Indivisible all over the country now, and there are different like chapters of it locally. And I'm curious to see how my Northwest Side group is doing. I think that, this is where Democrats do kind of get into because we don't fall in lockstep. So having this sort of energy in the event that you had last night is also not surprising. I know that when we had Patrick on from who's on the board for Indivisible, I know that the work he's doing is getting into communities throughout Illinois and making sure that they know that the pain that they are feeling is directly related to what the Trump administration is doing, and they're not wallowing in what Dems could have, should have, or aren't doing.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. Well, I need some of that because that was it was so depressing for my husband and I when we came home. We are going to the rally on Saturday. We'll be a part of as much as we can. I just need to find a home. Yes. I need to find a place.
All right,
a place where my voice can be heard and how we can do this other than you and Joan and, Hartman and some of the great people on the channel.
Well, let me get to work on finding a place, too. So, it's not in Racine or Kenosha or Elkhorn, because I agree. We need some place we can go and gather. Thank you so much for sharing your insights, Debbie. Check out what?
Check out Resistance Lab.
Okay. Resistance Lab.
Resistance Lab.
Everybody,
Resistance Lab.
Everyone, check out Resistance Lab, and I will do that as well. We've got our homework now. Thank you so much, Debbie.
Thank you, Patty.
Take care.
Thank you so much.
Of course. No, and thank you for letting me clear things up yesterday. I appreciate that. Have a good night, Debbie.
Oh, and did you see Oprah's menopause show last night?
No, I did not see it, but I've lived it.
It was brilliant.
I've lived my own menopause show, so I'm good.
It was brilliant.
I'll take a look.
If you can get it, so much information.
Okay.
Such a good show.
Appreciate that. Thank you. Take care, Debbie. Andrew, I've got about a minute left here. What's on your mind, my friend? In Detroit?
Hey, I was listening to Cory Booker, and he has clearly announced that he needs to be and wants to be the leader of the Democrats in the Senate. And Chucky needs to step aside as soon as this speech is over.
Yes.
I was also jumping around the dial, as I always do. I have to listen to both sides. So I was listening to an interview with Dr. Ben Carson, if you can still use that title, doctor, for this creature. Anyway, he was talking about I don't remember the drug. I think it was the horse drug. So
ivermectin. Yes, go ahead.
Ivermectin. There you go. Thank you very much. And just so the person from Fox was asking, well, where is the best health in the country? Well, that would be in Loma Linda.
Loma Linda.
And so I looked up Loma Linda, and the religion there is
Yeah.
And then I looked up his religion, the exact same.
There you go. You
know what?
Yep.
Just shut up.
And on that note, that's right. Just shut up. Andrew, I didn't mean to make you shut up, but I got to run to the break. Take care. More after this on WCPT at 20 and 1150 KKNW in Seattle.
When it comes to banking, you need a bank you can trust. A bank with a rock-solid reputation and the highest integrity. A bank that gives you the attention and respect you deserve.
ABOC first opened its doors in downtown Chicago in 1922, and we've made our name on deep expertise, best-in-class service, and a strong commitment to our customers. We know the Chicago business market inside and out and can help you craft the perfect banking solution, no matter what type of business you're in.
And if you're looking for a banking partner for your labor union, we can bring the type of expertise that only comes from a bank that was founded by labor unions and still has union employees and shareholders to this day.
Whether you need a deposit account, loan, trust services, or investment management, ABOC has you covered. Let's work together to manage your finances today while planning for a better tomorrow. ABOC, a bank built on a strong foundation.
Visit aboc.com to learn more. Member FDIC.
April 6th at Tropical Smoothie Cafe. Rewards members get $5 off an acai bowl or an acai bowl Tentella. Log into the app on April 6th to redeem your rewards. Terms and conditions apply.
AP News, I'm Ben Thomas. President Trump plans to unveil new tariff plans tomorrow. Sagar Magani reports they'll include
reciprocal tariffs, raising U.S. import taxes to levels equal to levies other nations charge on American goods. Trump says America's been ripped off for decades.
That has to stop.
He says it will be Liberation Day. Chief Senate Democrat Chuck Schumer,
a nightmare for the American economy.
And colleague Tim Kaine says it'll amount to a huge national sales tax, with other nations like Canada retaliating.
They'll tax groceries and food products.
But to House Speaker Mike Johnson,
it may be rocky in the beginning, but I think that this will make sense for Americans and it will help all Americans.
And while the president may use the tariff threats as negotiating leverage, the uncertainty is leading to drops in consumer confidence, and businesses aren't sure what will come next. Sagar Magani, Washington.
Employees across the Health and Human Services Department received notices today that their jobs are being eliminated. Cuts include researchers, scientists, doctors, support staff, and senior leaders. Meantime, Lisa Dwyer reports.
Attorneys general from 23 states and the District of Columbia are suing the Trump administration for its decision to claw back $11 billion that went to public health departments for COVID-19 efforts and addiction and mental health programs. The federal lawsuit says not paying the rest of the federal money will have a devastating effect on public health, weakening efforts to stem infectious diseases and hamper efforts on the opioid crisis. HHS said last week that it will no longer waste billions of taxpayer dollars responding to a non-existent pandemic. I'm Lisa Dwyer.
Survivors were still being found today in Myanmar from Friday's earthquake, but the death toll is now more than 2,700. And more storms this evening threatening the Midwest and South with possible flash flooding and tornadoes. This is AP News. The NFL's infamous tush push, a play mastered by the Philadelphia Eagles on their way to this year's Super Bowl victory, will live to see another day. Gethin Coolbaugh explains.
NFL team owners had been set to vote Tuesday on the Packers' proposal to ban the tush push that's helped the Eagles win one Super Bowl and reach another, but the proposal was tabled until May. The decision to postpone the vote means the debate will continue as the league seeks more information about the safety of the play. Proponents of the play and those who oppose it presented strong arguments, while the league's medical experts expressed safety concerns. Team owners approved modifying the kickoff rule, expanding replay assist, and revising overtime rules, along with other changes. I'm Gethin Coolbaugh.
And Steelers owner Art Rooney II says there are positive signs that quarterback Aaron Rodgers will play in Pittsburgh next season, but no decision yet. I'm Ben Thomas, AP News. Thanks for listening.
This is 820 AM, WCPT Willow Springs, and streaming worldwide at WCPT820.com. We are Chicago's progressive talk, where facts matter. Now, your WCPT 820 weather update.
I'm meteorologist Ray Miller from the Weatherology Weather Center. Scattered showers and storms are likely tonight. Some of those could produce some heavy rainfall. We'll see a low of 40 degrees. Wednesday, showers and storms with 1 to 2 inches of rain and a high temperature of 68. Southeast winds at up to 40 miles an hour. On Thursday, partly sunny skies with a high of 57 degrees. Friday, chance of showers with a high near 50. Saturday, rain likely once again with a high of 48. That's the latest Chicago weather update. Right now, it's 43.
If you've turned 65 recently like me, it's important you find a Medicare Advantage plan that gives you the coverage you're looking for. But finding one can be difficult. The best thing I did, and I suggest you do the same, is call a licensed insurance agent and let them walk you through your Medicare Advantage plan options. There are so many benefits you have access to. So make the call now and let the representatives explain everything to you. Our licensed insurance agents can offer you a variety of Medicare Advantage plans. Plus, the call is free, the information is free, and there's no obligation to enroll. We're here to make it easy for you to select a Medicare Advantage plan that may work for your needs. Finding a Medicare Advantage plan can be easy if you do what I did. Make a quick call right now to learn more. Thank you.
800-365-6303. 800-365-6303. 800-365-6303. That's 800-365-6303.
Because facts matter. You are listening to WCPT 820.
Driving it home with Patti Vasquez, Patti Vasquez. From global conflicts to greenhouse gases, the folks refusing to wear masks says, and politicians getting caught grabbing asses says, she's driving it home with Patti Vasquez.
Hello, hello. Thank you so much for joining us as we continue to drive it home. Want to say hello to our friends listening in the evenings on KTNF AM 950 Minneapolis, St. Paul, and of course our friends tuning into the show on 1150 AM KKNW, the alternative voice of the alternative talk of Seattle, Washington. We're here at WCPT 820 Heartland Signal, where you can find us not just on your kitchen radio or in your car, but also on the TuneIn app for free. You can watch us live stream on YouTube and Facebook. All of our shows are podcast. We want to thank all of our sponsors for making these conversations possible. Go to source.solar and find out about the great work they do. Maybe it's time for you to get solar panels on your home or your business. We also want to thank Kirk Bankstead from Minocqua Brewing Company. Of course, we broadcast from there last week, and we'll be there again April 15th. And my fellow talk show host, radio host, Ben Cominos, is also a columnist for the newsletter for Minocqua Brewing Company. He joins us. He's a host of Out of the Box on WHBY. Did I get that right? Right? Out of the Box?
Outside the box. What's that?
Outside the box. There's too many words. I did all that off the top of my head, and I was bound to screw something up. Maybe something else was screwed up.
You nailed it.
Ben Cominos, Outside the Box on WHBY. You can download the app or go to WHBY.com. Hey, hi, Ben. Ben, things are crazy, but how's it going? How are things by you?
Yeah, we made it, right? We're there. We're what? We're 54 minutes away, or no, an hour 54 away from closing down. If you're listening to me in Wisconsin, get out there and vote. There's a good feeling in the air. I don't know how you feel about it, but I think I'm optimistic about the way things are trending today.
And what are you hearing about how things are trending? Because I saw an interview, I mentioned this earlier in the show, that I saw an interview with a family from Wisconsin, this husband and wife. They were with their kids. They had taken them to go voting. And they said they generally don't pay attention to special elections, but it was Elon Musk that caught their attention. And they were like, that pissed them off. And they decided they were going to go and vote. Are you hearing a lot of that too?
Well, we can start there. I'm sure you saw the Quinnipiac polling from March 3rd had Elon already underwater, 41% approve, 53% disapprove, and that was before a whole mess of crap took place this month that I would argue put him in even a less favorable light than what already existed. And the polling has this race close today, Patty, but I don't know how much attention you pay to these betting sites that actually follow the odds for gambling. And I put more stock in that in polling because people care about their money. And even in the 2024 election, when I thought it was going to be closer than it was, those markets had it, I believe, 58%, if not a little higher, in favor of Donald Trump, which I just kind of ignored at that point, and it kind of turns out to be borne out correctly. I started following it more. These sites, and there's three different ones. Polymarket's the famous one, but there's a handful you can look at. The lowest odds I saw, and I don't want people to take their foot off the gas, but the lowest odds I saw was I'm forgetting now. I think 85% chance for Susan Crawford. It's obscene the way this stuff is getting talked about in regards to this race. It is not even kind of reflected as a close race. So, I mean, again, take that stock. This is a newer system, but I'll take that over any makeshift polling any day of the week. And that is telling a very different story than what any polls are showing.
Now, you said that we're winding down and it was an hour and some. Do your polls close at 8 o'clock in Wisconsin or 7 o'clock? Oh, they close at 8.
Yeah, 8 o'clock.
All right, folks.
Yeah.
If you can hear my voice, me and Ben Cominos want to remind you that the polls are open till 8 in Wisconsin. If you or someone you know, folks, call your friends, tell them that they've got time to get out there and vote. Because my understanding, I think there was a hot mic with Speaker Johnson and somebody else. They were talking about how things were looking, and I don't know which state, if it was Florida or Wisconsin, about voter turnout. They said that we won't do well if there's high voter turnout. And the one guy that Johnson was speaking to said, yeah, it's about 6% higher than we had. 6 points higher than what we were expecting. Because usually it's like 12%. Because special elections don't bring a lot of enthusiasm, but this one might. I think that's what we're seeing, right?
Oh yeah, I was voter 700 something. I think it might have been 750 on the button in my area, and I'm not in. Yeah, and I'm not in Appleton proper. I'm actually in an offshoot, much smaller population. I have a feeling Appleton's numbers would be much bigger. And I was 750, and the guy working the polls told me while I was walking through, because they all know I host the show, so they always kind of fill me in, and said they're sitting on 500 absentees that weren't even in the system yet. Counted in the number. He was like, normally on this kind of race, we're looking at 200-300. Like it's crazy how much higher the number was out here.
Holy cats. All right. So that's where we're starting. And I know that all the focus has been, obviously, I don't think people got my joke last night. I do a virtual comedy show on Mondays, and the image of Elon Musk with a big wedge of cheese on his head made me realize he's the world's biggest cheese turd. See what I did there? Not curd. See what I did there? No?
Yeah, I'm with you. Yeah, I'm with you.
I have to explain it because nobody last night laughed, and I was really disappointed in myself.
Yeah, you'll have that. The online stuff, sometimes it doesn't hit the same way. But I'll tell you what, I hated it because that son of a gun did it in my home state as well with a terrible towel as when he was doing stuff outside of Pittsburgh.
Ew.
And now he shows up here doing the cheesehead stuff. And I mean, I got to say, most of the people who were calling in, I'll tell you, I don't know how much people are budging on Trump, but Musk is wearing out his welcome very quickly with a lot of people. And, he needs to get knocked out of peg, so I hope I'm not projecting too much on this race, but he needs to get taken down here.
No, I don't think you're projecting too much because it is this is the first real test. You know, there's been some, I think, upsets for the Republicans in the state legislature race in Pennsylvania. There doesn't seem to be too much optimism as far as the special election races, the 2 congressional seats in Florida. But this one, because of the money, because of the intent, and because of the implications of it, it's not just, we often talk about the abortion ban, which goes back to 1849, if the Supreme Court goes more conservative, and the gerrymandering and things like that. But he actually, doesn't want there to be any union power in states like Wisconsin. He wants to continue to diminish that, and he has something that could come up in front of the Supreme Court in regards to dealerships. His own, he has a lot of skin in this game. So I want him to get a thumping, but I'm not gonna put that out. I shouldn't have put that out there. It was already. I should take that back. Not that there's jinxing and voting.
That's what I'm saying. I don't want to jinx what's going on right now, but you definitely want to see something like that happen because you're exactly right. You're talking about the. I'm not sure of the logic behind it, but you're not allowed to own a manufacturer and a dealership in the state of Wisconsin, yes. And that law is expected to go up to the Supreme Court. And obviously, this is going to have a big implication on whether or not that gets across the finish line here or not. There's a number of reasons, and I'm also a firm believer this is Elon Musk's own test within himself to see how much power he can lord over other on-the-fence conservatives who maybe are nervous about some of the cuts that are screwing with them in their own district. This will go a long way towards that. I always urge, though, and I'll urge your listeners as well, I'm not going to fall into the trap of reading too much into this. I'm not going to believe that Musk has a death grip on this if they win, and I'm also not going to believe that Democrats' problems are all gone if they pull this off. This is very local still that we need to always remember. I always get nervous putting a lot of emphasis on any one election because then everybody comes out somber on the other side when it doesn't hit. So it's like this is just one battle and many to come.
It doesn't solve our problems, but I think it gives a little more wind to our sails, especially for organizations throughout the state of Wisconsin that work so hard. I mean, Ben Wickler and all the county chairs do a tremendous job of doing the heavy lifting, of getting people out to vote, keeping people engaged. I'm always proud to work with the organizations just north of the border. So that's the part where I need it. What are you hearing from your listeners? Are there more folks who are starting to feel the pain? Or is it still kind of like, I love what he's doing, and Dems are just mad because the gravy train has stopped. They're not getting all that fraud and waste.
Well, the social issues, because see, I have some street cred because I normally I'm one of the last people to fall into the identity politics trap. I'm not calling people racist. I oftentimes will give the benefit of the doubt, even when a lot of the evidence is to the contrary. But so when I do say, like, hey, this is way too much, and we're talking about these people getting nabs, whether it's college students talking about the Middle East or Hispanic immigrants, oftentimes here legally, that is where the line seems to be drawn. A lot of the listeners are willing to give it a year, even though economically, even though all signs are pointing to, this is not necessarily the right path, but they're willing to wait. And realistically, if Harris had won, I feel like I'd be like, she just got there and the economy's been trashed. Give it a second. So I'm willing to give them a little bit of grace there. But what's interesting is the social issues. They're actually coming around on much quicker than I would have expected. The get all these immigrants out of here people are very quickly becoming this isn't what I signed up for people, which is inspiring. It's like, well, all right, there is a line. Online, you wouldn't guess that. There's still plenty of trolls out there, but at least in northeast Wisconsin, a lot of people don't have time for it, that's for sure. I mean, my apartment complex has 40% less capacity right now. There was a huge Hispanic population here. The day January 20th happened, everybody was gone.
Whoa! Interesting. And that's fascinating, 40%, because we're seeing...
Oh, it sucks, Patty. They were fun. Like we used to grill out here, and we would do barbecues, and there was always... Because they all worked manual labor jobs, and I have an early show, so we'd all be done at 2 o'clock in the afternoon, and it was a great atmosphere. It is somber here now. I'm not even lying. It is a completely different atmosphere here.
And they're not coming back. That's the other thing, too. I mean,
oh, no. They didn't even tell me they were leaving because they knew what my job was, and they didn't, I'm not even offended because I'm glad I don't know where they went because the way things are going, they'd be like, where are they? I'm like, I don't know. But yeah, they just bounced. Oh, and it was quite literally on January 20th. I came home. The whole parking lot was out open. I was like, what just happened?
Oh, my God. Wow. That is wild. I have to take a break in a moment. I now have stricter time limits for some of these conversations. Can you stick around for another segment? I think we've got a couple of phone calls on the line that maybe we could take together. Does that work for you, Ben?
Yeah, I'm good with that.
Excellent. We're talking to Ben Cominos, the host of Outside the Box on WHBY. He's in one of my favorite towns in Wisconsin, Appleton, Wisconsin. I haven't had a chance to go that far north for some of the campaigning, but I'm going to get up there because I really do love Appleton. One guy was from Appleton. I was naming all the landmarks. He was like, you do know my town. I love that. We'll be back with Ben in a moment on WCPT 820 Heartland Signal, KKNW in Seattle, and KTNF in Minneapolis, St. Paul.
A Better Life with Dr. Sanjay Gupta.
Can blowing your nose actually make your cold symptoms worse? It's an interesting question, and apparently one that people have been Googling a lot lately. So we talked to some ENTs, and they said that blowing your nose can provide temporary relief, but there are more effective ways of clearing the mucus and helping you in the long run. Saline irrigation is one way to clear congestion. The saltwater solution actually clears the nasal cavity, flushes away the mucus and the bacteria and the other irritants. Nasal decongestants, they can also help by reducing swelling in your blood vessels to open up your airways. A warm compress or steam can help loosen the mucus and let it come out naturally. If you are going to blow your nose, experts recommended blowing one nostril at a time very gently and using tissues with aloe or menthol to prevent irritation on the outside of the nose as well. I'm Dr. Sanjay Gupta, helping you live a better life.
My whole identity had been wrapped up in being a soldier. To have that so violently ripped from me when I was wounded, I was lost for a very long time. When Wounded Warrior Project came into my life, being around the other warriors, people that had similar experiences that I did, it was a game changer for me. Having King join the group, that was the beginning of a really good friendship. It's a good time.
I first heard about Wounded Warrior Project through CQ. And at first I was kind of like, I don't know if I qualify. But having been a part of it, it's kind of taught me that it's not just the wounds that you can see, but it's those that you can't.
When you do something like a peer support group with Wounded Warrior Project and come together from different walks of life, man, the growth is incredible. If not for Wounded Warrior Project, I really don't think that I'd be here today.
See how we help warriors combat stigma at woundedwarriorproject.org/combat stigma.
Hey Google, play WCPT.
Streaming Chicago's progressive talk from TuneIn.
If you're listening to this station right now, you've definitely heard my voice before. Hi, I'm Hawk.
And I'm Pete. And we're with Source Solar, your local source for solar. Source Solar is Chicagoland's premier solar installer, providing solutions for over 1,000 homeowners and business owners across Illinois and Iowa.
With over a decade of industry experience and deep roots here in Chicago, we have the expertise to help your transition to clean, renewable, resilient energy.
We can guarantee that we save you money day one without any out-of-pocket cost to you. This means you have an instant ROI, instant payback, and can save money to add to your bottom line day one.
At Source Solar, we source everything as local as possible, meaning we always carry the Made in USA sticker.
Find us online at www.source.solar. Stop in our office at 5710 Northwest Highway or give us a call at 773-985-3992.
And don't forget to ask for Hawk
or Pete.
I'm going to go right back to Ben Cominos because Ben, Senator Cory Booker has just broken the record for filibuster. What are your thoughts on this? I believe it's 25 hours he's gone for. Ben Cominos, the host of Outside the Box, joins us from WHBY. Have you had a chance to catch any of this?
Yeah, I've been following along with it. I'll be honest, Patty, it feels more like publicity stunt than anything else to me. But, I mean, it's a cool historical feat. It's an impressive achievement here. But like I always say, just put together effective policy to run on for 2026, and that'll do more. I know Democrats are hearing about it from all angles, so good for him for actually taking a stand here. But you know me, I'm a nuts and bolts guy. So, I mean, that's kind of where I'm coming down on that one.
Right. So what kind of policy would you want to see Cory Booker? I mean, because we were talking in the last hour about how there isn't a lot of power that they have in D.C. What would you recommend that they do?
So I would approach this from two different perspectives. From the state Democrat perspective, I had Ben Wickler on the show on Thursday, and he was talking about Elon Musk, and you know me, and I was like, Elon Musk sucks, but I'm really not too keen on any billionaires, and Democrats have their hands dirty too. And he is on the record not once but twice saying Republicans control the legislature, get them to come to us with finance reform, getting this out-of-state money out of politics, and we will happily play ball. So for starters, start hammering that angle, because even though we still disagree on a lot, all the listeners of my show agree on one thing. They're fed up with liberal and conservative dollars coming into politics. And then when it comes to the statewide or the national level, the Cory Bookers of the world and this crew, I'll give you an example with a listener I had. I was doing a segment about a proposed plan to fund Social Security. I think it was Sanders and co-signed with someone else, brought about in 21 and in 25. Increase the cap for people making more than $250K. You may have seen the details online. And everybody would get an extra $2,400 in benefits, and it would extend solvency of the plan until 2100. The entire Kamala Harris campaign, we heard about Project 2025 and Trump plan to cut Social Security, and it seems like he still does intend to. The Democrats didn't have a plan to fix it. They just would tell you conservatives are going to cut it. Come with the plan to fix it. Do that with health care. Do it with everything. Instead of telling me the conservatives don't intend to do these things, you and I both know they don't intend to do these things. Tell us what your intentions are. Because the caller would say, I blame Bernie Sanders for putting these ideas in your head. And I'd say, so you blame the guy coming with ideas rather than the party who didn't have any ideas and is now doing these kind of gestures like what Cory Booker's doing instead of like just coming with an idea to solve a problem everybody seems to agree exists.
Yep, I hear you. And actually, speaking of Social Security, I know a listener wanted to join the conversation. David is calling from San Francisco with a question. Hey, David, you're on with me and Ben Cominos. What's on your mind?
Oh, well, I think the way to solve Social Security would be to raise the minimum wage. And to raise it, you don't have to change the percentage into it. You simply raise it. And since here in San Francisco, we were looking for a $15 an hour minimum wage 25 years ago, to raise it to $15 would be an easy shot, and it's probably more necessary to bring it up to about $25 an hour. So, these ideas have been out there, and I kind of find that maybe the Democrats have been going to the universities that, like Hillsdale College or some of these phony universities that have been taken over. Well, you've got the Chicago School of Economics up there, right, with... oh, God, who's the short little fellow that needed a pie in the face? Big pal of Ronald Reagan. But one thing I was going to add, if you think about just the economics of Elon Musk, he doesn't seem to have knowledge enough to know about efficiency. You know, I'm calling you from 2,000 miles away on a telephone, and the telephone's been around for about 150 years, and Elon Musk, he doesn't find that telephones are efficient to use at the Social Security office.
There's so much. They're not even allowed to buy anything anymore. I don't know if you saw this, Ben, but the Social Security offices, like any of the funding that they had to just buy office supplies, has been eliminated. They've eliminated some of the real estate where they can park. There's an office in Pennsylvania with 1,200 employees. They only have 300 parking spots now, so people are showing up at 4:30 in the morning so that they can get a parking spot when they go into work. It's all kinds of madness. But thanks for calling, David. What are your thoughts on that, Ben?
Well, I mean, that even kind of adds to the conversation. I don't even remember what the legislation is today, but I saw a notice from Twitter journalist Ken Klippenstein saying the Republicans are intending to circumvent the parliamentarians in the name of getting one of their unpopular legislations across, which is exactly 4 years ago the reason Democrats gave for not raising the minimum wage. Another missed opportunity. We just had that David call saying they've been pushing for $15 for the last 25 years. They had the House, they had the Senate, they had the presidency, they had the votes. And then the parliamentarians said, I don't know about this. They were like, well, we tried. And then Republicans will turn around and stab you in the back with whatever stupid policy they have. And the parliamentarian says don't. And they say pound salt. So, like, to me, I don't know if that idea would actually address the Social Security shortcoming or not to an efficient extent. But what I do know is they had the votes to do this 4 years ago and didn't. And like that, those are the kind of missed opportunities that sting right now when you see all this garbage happening.
Yep. Got another caller. Ron is also calling from California about Social Security. What's on your mind? You're on with me and Ben Cominos. We've got about 2 minutes left here. Ron, what's on your mind?
Well, simply put, we're with all the closures of the agencies, including Social Security, and then you're going to give the tax break extension to basically the richest people on the earth.
Yeah.
Why? How are we going to rebuild when there is a change of administration? Where are the funds going to come from? If we give that away, is there anything that can happen? I don't know the answer, but is there anything within the system that can prevent the giveaway of that tax credit to be able to rebuild?
That's a great question, Ben. I don't know if you have any thoughts on that, but because this is something I grapple with every day as to how we're going to claw any of this back. Do you have any thoughts?
Oh my God! I mean, like, it's a very existential question. I mean, I would.
Yep.
The way I look at it is if you or I don't pay our taxes, we go to jail. I mean, there has to actually be the spine to enforce. Like, oh no, we're taking that money back from a specific. I don't mean from everyday Americans. I mean, to me, there's a handful. You guys see the metric: $79 trillion or whatever it is, passed off to the 0.1% over 40 years. We're taking that back. And we're going to rebuild the country. And if you have a problem, here's the cell. Like, that's the way I'd probably go about it.
I like your plan. Yeah, there's going to have to be a lot of solutions, but first we have to get to a place where we can work on those solutions. We've been talking to Ben Cominos, the host of Outside the Box on WHBY out of Appleton, Wisconsin. You can download the app and listen to a show or go to the website. And are you on Blue Sky? What other places should we find you?
I'm on right now. I'm just about to do TikTok. I have Facebook and the trash social media sites.
Excellent. Well, we'll be watching the numbers come in tonight. I'll touch base with you soon, my friend.
Sounds good. I'll talk to you about it.
Thank you so much. For our listeners who are on hold, we're going to take a break here. When we come back, we're going to have our friend Matt McNeil from KTNF AM 950 joining the show. So we'll take your calls with him as well. More after this on WCPT 820 Heartland Signal, KTNF AM 950 and 1150 KKNW.
You're listening to WCPT 820. Here's the latest Chicago weather update.
I'm meteorologist Ray Miller from the Weatherology Weather Center. Scattered showers and storms are likely tonight. Some of those could produce some heavy rainfall. We'll see a low of 40 degrees. Wednesday, showers and storms with 1 to 2 inches of rain and a high temperature of 68. Southeast winds at up to 40 miles an hour. On Thursday, partly sunny skies with a high of 57 degrees. Friday, chance of showers with a high near 50. Saturday, rain likely once again with a high of 48. That's the latest Chicago weather update. Right now, it's 44.
This is Chicago's Progressive Talk, 820 AM, WCPT Willow Springs, and online at WCPT820.com, where facts matter.
Thanks to our loyal WCPT listeners, the WCPT 20th anniversary broadcast is officially sold out. But you can still enjoy the broadcast by listening to WCPT Radio on Saturday, May 3rd from 11 a.m. to 3 p.m. Hal Sparks will kick things off at 11 a.m., then hand it off to WCPT hosts Richard Chu, Joan Esposito, Patti Vasquez, and Scott Duff at 1 o'clock. Surprise guests from WCPT's 20-year history will also join us. Scroll through 20 years of WCPT radio with legendary interviews, shows, and pictures on the WCPT 820 website. WCPT's live broadcast is sponsored by Max and Benny's Restaurant in Northbrook, Fazio Insurance, Smart 265, and Southland Friends of Labor. It's the WCPT 20th anniversary live broadcast Saturday, May 3rd from 11 a.m. to 3 p.m. Only on WCPT 820, Chicago's only progressive talk radio station for 20 years.
As a veteran, you get a lot of advice, but wisdom's harder to come by. A lot of people imagine themselves in our shoes without understanding the weight on our shoulders. The truth is, few can understand the pressure of finding your own way after serving in the military. But few isn't none. Steady yourself. You're not alone. You've got support. Learn more at maketheconnection.net.
WCPT 820, Chicago's progressive talk, where facts matter.
Hi, this is Patti Vasquez. We appreciate all our fans of Driving It Home, and your support of show sponsor Minocqua Brewing Company ensures that our important conversations continue right here on WCPT each weekday from 5 to 7 p.m. You can now find the Resistance IPA, Labor Lager, or the Resistance Pilsner beer at several Illinois locations, including Armanetti Wine and Spirits in Woodstock, Pineapple and Company in North Riverside, Lions Beverage Depot in Arlington Heights, and MP's Liquor, Wine and Beer in North Aurora. For a full list of Chicagoland locations, please visit MinocquaBrewingCompany.com. As always, please vote and drink responsibly.
You're listening to Driving It Home with Patti Vasquez.
Thank you so much for continuing driving it home with us. I'm your host, Patti Vasquez. Joining me on the line from our sister station, one of our sister stations, is Matt McNeil, fresh off a celebration of 15 years on the air. Matt McNeil, how are you doing, my friend?
I'm doing well. How are you today?
I'm hydrating. I forgot. I'm not supposed to ask people how they're doing. It's just people's faces. They like freeze. I'm like, or if they say they're great, like the people who say I'm great, I'm like, okay, you're faking it, or you're not locked into what's going on.
I'm great. I'm doing great.
Everything is going exactly as I'd hoped.
One of the things I love about our little tandem here, not only are we on the air, and of course the mighty WCPT in Chicago, not at my station at AM 950 up Minneapolis, St. Paul, but you and I are back-to-back in Seattle on KKNW up there, which is so awesome.
I know. Thank you. And I think you probably had something to do with that, so I appreciate that. Whatever good words you put in for me, I appreciate that. Thank you. It does not go unnoticed.
Well, I think it is a lot of fun, and I want to thank Patti, if I can, just really quick. So we did have my 15th anniversary of being on the radio station in Minneapolis, St. Paul on Sunday. And we had a bunch of people that recorded these lovely little video tributes, including Patti, who it was so funny because I call you my bestie in Chicago, and after you got done with your lovely little speech, and thank you very much, it was very nice.
Of course, my pleasure.
Nancy Nelson, who was hosting the event, she leans up and she goes, "Ooh, I now know why you call her your bestie." And he's like, "Yeah, she's pretty special. She's absolutely fantastic."
That's very kind of you. Well, I'm really proud of you, and thank you so much for I'm often doing some work or cooking in the evenings and listening to your show and just listening to you unpack things, and you're passionate about things and the conversations, the interviews that you do. Just really, you guys, make sure you're tuning in. You can catch him at 9:00 on our station, and of course he's out in the afternoons on KTNF AM 950. If you're bouncing around at all, I'm just saying, just putting it out there.
And you're more than welcome to join me there for sure.
Yes, exactly. So what's top of mind for you? Senator Booker just crossed the threshold of a 25-hour filibuster, beating Strom Thurmond's record. We were talking to Ben Cominos. It's radio host day here on WCPT. What are your thoughts on this filibuster and the symbolism of it?
I think it's important that, let's talk the ugly first. Chuck Schumer and the capitulation to the Republicans and Trump was a disaster. And whatever they thought they were doing, I think it's very clear now that nobody in the Democratic Party wants to be working with them. I mean, if you look at what they're doing, they're horrible people. They're sending people to a gulag in El Salvador to be tortured and murdered. And even when they now admit, someone there shouldn't be there, they're doing nothing to get that person out of there because they don't want that person coming back and exposing what exactly is going on in that gulag. So, no, there's no point in us working with these people. Don't acquiesce. Don't sit there and say we're going to work with the other side of the aisle. This is not about it. This is not the time for bipartisanship. And if you don't want to be a strong Democrat like Cory Booker just showed you what he can do, then it's time to step aside. We'll get someone else in there and we'll move ahead.
Yeah, I agree with you completely because if folks haven't caught this story, I can't remember what state it's out of because it's happening in quite a few places where there was a clerical error. They're saying it was an administrative error, but then the press secretary of the White House doubles down and says all these horrible things that we don't know if that's true, but putting things out there so people can go, oh, well, no, he was investigated for something under the Trump administration. In 2019, the guy that was the mistake that they made and this judge is demanding that he be returned. Now they're like, well, we can't actually do that. We already paid for his airfare. They won't give him back kind of crap, right?
He could get him back in 6 hours. It was Maryland, by the way.
Maryland,
he would get him back in 6 hours if he wanted to, because clearly El Salvador is getting a lot of money from us to have a gulag in El Salvador. Maybe that's why he wants Greenland, so he can ship people up there. I don't know. But I think it's these people are horrible. Can I say something? This is something I've been hammering on my show a lot. And, okay, we can go through the litany of things that this administration is doing. And you're, of course, in the beautiful city of Chicago. I'm in the beautiful city of Minneapolis, St. Paul. We are heard in Seattle sometimes as well. The metro areas are going to get hit, but nothing like rural America, rural Illinois and Wisconsin, rural Minnesota, rural Washington, wherever you're at. I mean, when they get rid of Medicaid, I mean, the margins on hospitals in rural America, the only reason they're able to stay open is Medicaid. 9 out of 10 of them are going to close. There's not going to be any any kind of medical services in rural America. The schools, when they get rid of the Department of Education, forget about, you thought it was bad enough when they consolidated school districts. There's going to be like 9 rural schools total throughout major states, and it'll be an hour and a half, 2-hour drive for your kid to go to school to be in a classroom with 60 other kids. But don't worry, they're undoing the child labor laws, so if your kid decides he wants to work at a meat processing plant and lose a finger or two, why not? Who needs to count to 10 anyway? Then you've got the idea of, I was reading a story today about the number of federal workers in rural America, whether that's people processing health care, working for the ag sector. It's almost 10%. In a lot of this area, there is nowhere in this country that can sustain 10% of the workforce all of a sudden not working. And yet that's rural America right now. And yet, where are the freaking Republicans in Illinois, in Minnesota, and all these states? Where are the Republicans when their own districts are detrimentally being attacked right now? And haven't gotten to Meals on Wheels and food services or food banks. Where are the Republicans? My God, this is going to, you thought that the early 1980s was bad in rural America. It's going to be unbelievable when this hits. I mean, it's going to wipe out rural America.
That's the thing I've been trying to impress upon folks, because your state, Minnesota, the state of Illinois, other blue states are donor states when it comes to federal dollars. Not that we're going to be okay, but you're right about those rural areas. Even in Illinois, even in a blue state like this, we have hospital deserts where women who need maternal health care have to drive an hour and a half just to get a checkup or deliver a baby. I mean, like, who wants to drive an hour and a half? I mean, like, how are you even ready for that? And you're right. That's going to hit us. It's going to hit every state. There are schools, they were like, oh, well, only 10% of the Department of Education goes to schools for funding. That's the average. Or whatever it is. There are schools in Illinois.
A lot of money.
Yeah, it's still a lot of money, but I did some research, and there are schools in Illinois in red areas that voted for this, where their funding is 39% from the federal government, 50%. What were you going to say, Matt?
Mississippi was, 26% of all? The average in Mississippi is 26% of this. I mean, it's crazy. And, you talk about the healthcare. I mean, I can't scream this enough, okay? If you are in Minnesota, where I'm at, of course, the Twin Cities metro area, they'll have some. And, of course, Rochester and the Mayo Clinic down there. Duluth will probably have a hospital. It's going to be Fargo and Sioux Falls. I mean, there is not going to be anything in rural America. And so it's going to be a 2 to 3 hour drive just to go get a checkup for your pregnancy, or to go to the oncologist, or whatever you're going through. There's not going to be anything out there because they can't make money if the margins are bad. I mean, and then we haven't even discussed the amount of people you're about to lay off in all those hospitals. There's another major hit that's going to happen. All these, they're going to have to leave because they've got medical degrees. They want to be nurses, doctors, so they're going to leave. If you got the idea that you're going to be able to do like Little House on the Prairie out in rural America and have the doctor give you chemotherapy, and all you have to do is give him 3 chickens. Mm-hmm. I got bad news for you. That's not going to be the reality. You're not going to have medical care, and it is going to desperately hurt rural America at the behest of the Republicans, who are there doing it to them, and they're not even raising their voice at all about this.
That is it was so gobsmacking for me, I guess is the best way to put it. We were talking to a listener from California in the last segment about Social Security, and he was asking, like, how are we going to fix this when they're done? They don't care. Like, Republicans who are doing this, the Doge bags, right, and Musk and Trump, like, they're diverting the money to the billionaires because senior citizens, people who are ill, people who are impoverished I don't know how to stress this enough to folks, we are considered disposable to billionaires, to the oligarchy. So that's it, cut and dry.
I'm going to give you a preview of my show coming up later on today, and that is simply this. This is a heist. I mean, this is okay. So, do you know when we would sometimes hear stories of like some supposed alleged third world country where the military takes over and the evil despot who's been running the country runs to the treasury, grabs all the money, and leaves? That's what's going on right now. There's a reason why one of the first stops they made was to look in to see what was exactly in Fort Knox. They're going to cut everything down to the core, give that away to millionaires and billionaires as far as tax break. Well, it's not a tax break. It's just here's a bunch of taxpayer dollars, enjoy. They're going to have to then raise there's not going to be a middle class. It's all going to be lower class. They'll raise our taxes to 50 to 60% to pay for the military. And then every government agency that they still need to keep that will have been damaged, they'll just privatize, giving long-term money for lesser services, cut services. This is a heist. At the end of the day, they got Trump as a figurehead, but he's a convenient buffoon for them. They embrace stuff like the white nationalism and stuff like that. That's just what ends to the means. Those are the foot soldiers they need. The reality is this is about a handful of people looking to make 50 to 60,000 Americans the wealthiest people who have ever walked on the planet since the French in the 1700s, and they will do it. And you, me, anyone who's listening to us, we don't matter. We can die because this is not about anything about making our lives better or anything like this. This is about giving the money to the people. This is undoing the employment revolution from the 1890s and forward, undoing the social service, the social safety net programs that were put into place. A lot of them after World War I, and then during FDR's administration. This is their brass ring. They've always wanted to undo all these things, and now they're going to do it. And we're all going to suffer, and that's just. As you said. The only thing that can save us is a handful of Republicans. Maybe after tonight, maybe after Florida, maybe after Wisconsin, a handful of Republicans realizing that maybe destroying the country is not the best idea for a handful of billionaires and millionaires. And unless that happens, and I don't really have a lot of faith in that. Every social safety program you have, Medicaid, Medicare, Social Security, food aid, schools, all this stuff, it's all going to be negotiable, and you're not part of the negotiations. Nope. They're going to just tell you what's going to happen. Let's
I didn't ask you before we started this if you could do 2 segments. Can you stick around for another segment? I'm putting pressure on you. We also have a couple calls I want to take. We're hanging out with Matt McNeil. You can hear him in the evenings on WCPT at 9:00, but of course on KTNF, the Northern Front. No, the Progressive Voice. That's how I remember the letters. The Progressive Voice of Minneapolis.
Canada. You're going to lasso us in and take us up, Canada.
Yes, right? Take us with you. We'll be right back after this on WCPT 820 Heartland Signal. Oh, and both of us on KKNW 1150 Seattle, Washington.
Dive deeper into the heart of the news and stories at WCPT 820 and across the Midwest by checking out our website, heartlandsignal.com.
It's the coverage I can count on every time.
For the latest news updates, in-depth analysis, compelling stories, comprehensive election coverage, live streams, and thought-provoking opinions, head to heartlandsignal.com.
When I need to know, they're there.
They keep me informed and updated wherever I am.
Stay informed with WCPT 820, your go-to source for where facts matter.
On the battlefield, there's a saying America's military men and women live by. Never leave a fallen warrior behind, ever. Off the battlefield, Wounded Warrior Project operates with the same goal. Wounded Warrior Project was created to help our men and women returning home with the scars of war, whether those scars are physical or mental. Wounded Warrior Project. We never leave a fallen warrior behind, ever. Learn more about what we do at woundedwarriorproject.org.
This is WCPT 820, where facts matter.
Patti Vasquez. We appreciate all our fans of Driving It Home, and your support of show sponsor Minocqua Brewing Company ensures that our important conversations continue right here on WCPT each weekday from 5 to 7 p.m. You can now find the Resistance IPA, Labor Lager, or the Resistance Pilsner beer at several Illinois locations, including Arminetti Wine and Spirits in Woodstock, Pineapple and Company in North Riverside, Lions Beverage Depot in Arlington Heights, and MP's Liquor, Wine, and Beer in North Aurora. For a full list of Chicagoland locations, please visit MinocquaBrewingCompany.com. As always, please vote and drink responsibly.
From city streets to political beats, you're driving it home with Patti Vasquez. Where progressive talk fuels the ride.
That's a new rejoiner by our friend Dan Levy. Joining me on the line is Matt McNeil, the host of the Matt McNeil Show on KTNF AM 950. You can hear him in the evenings right here on WCPT at 9 o'clock. And of course, he's right before me on 1150 KKNW, Seattle, Washington. Before anything else, Matt, we should probably do a trip to Seattle, like do a live appearance together. I mean,
okay. You know me.
On.
Now, I mean, I know my food things. We'll head over to Ivar's.
Okay.
Right there on the. Oh God, I love Ivar's. I mean, I've had so many good meals there, and of course I'm a seafood hound. I grew up in Rhode Island as a kid, and so I love good fresh seafood. And yeah, you and I would love to do Seattle sometime. I will say this: we mentioned my 15th anniversary show.
Uh-huh.
What was this about the 20th anniversary WCPT? That's awesome.
Yes, we started out as Air America. We had like Al Franken, we had Janine Garofalo,
Yeah.
we had a lot of folks starting out with us 20 years. Yeah, Rachel Maddow. I know we had a longer list before in front of me, but I don't have it anymore. I've been here. I've been here for 4 years, going on 4 years in August. They actually are sharing our debut broadcasts are available on our website. But yeah, we're going to be at Max and Benny's in Northbrook. We have a 20-year Hal Sparks is going to join us. So we've got all of us will be broadcasting live from 11 a.m. to 3 p.m. Now, are you coming back through Chicago again? Did I hear something about another trip here?
Yeah. We are planning on. I'm planning on coming back down there. I don't know when. I'm going to coordinate it to where I'll come by your show again.
Excellent.
In a heartbeat, and yeah, no, we definitely want to come on back to Chicago. I definitely want to come back to Chicago. I really do. I do. I love that city. It is so cool, and it's kind of one of those things where it's just me, and let's just say you've traveled everywhere. You go to places like Atlanta or Dallas, or you can go to like Florida, some of the cities. It's a little harder going there nowadays.
Yes.
Places like Chicago, Seattle, Boston's a fine city.
New Orleans. I had a good time at Mardi Gras. Thank you for your recommendations, by the way.
That is a little oasis in the desert.
Oh my God, it's so good.
I do. There are some places I like to go because it doesn't. But there are some places where it doesn't. You don't feel welcome. I always have felt welcome in Chicago. I love Chicago. I got to get back down there before too long.
Actually, for those of you watching the live stream, you can see a shirt I'm wearing. It's designed by Hairbrained Creations, Hairbrained LLC. You can find them on social media. This is what our pizza boxes look like. I don't know if you've ever seen this. And this has like all the best thin crust, like mom and pop locations throughout the Chicagoland area. So you were around. You were up here somewhere. So I'll have to take you to one of these places. I think Joe's on Higgins.
And get closer to the sternum, yeah. So close to the sternum. And
Frank's is really good on Belmont. I really like that one a lot. Anyway, Dino's. I will take you to Dino's. That's what I grew up on too. They have a really good barbecue sauce with bacon on it. Oh my God, it's so good. At any rate, I'll take you some of the mom and pop pizza joints when you come back to Chicago because you had Super Dog. Huh?
Well, I'm going to have Superdog again.
No, that's it. You have it once. When you come back, you try other things. I'm kidding. Superdog's in my DNA. It's actually the picture I use for my Substack. I'm writing a book called Chicago Girl about growing up in Chicago, how my parents met. So it's a photo in front of Superdog that I use for those pieces. Let's take a call from a listener. I know Dave from Hoffman Estates been on hold for quite a bit, so let's get to that call. Dave, you're on with me and Matt McNeil. What's on your mind, my friend?
Hey, Patty. Hey, Matt. Last night I noted you all get to see the story on CNN by Kyung La about where these luxury trips sponsored by corporate lobbyists. And there was a list of like 14 attorneys general. And your very own Keith Ellison was one of them. Our very own Kwame Raoul was on that list. And this Raul Torres from New Mexico was there. But Raul and Torres and Ellison were the two she was working on. And that Raul had ducked out on her real quick. And so she went to Keith Ellison about that, elected officials attended, a South Africa trip, was also at that event. And he was kind of double talking to her and all of this stuff, and then when Law had questioned the ethics of such trips Then Ellison tells Law he'd like to end this conversation right there. And in the final 45 seconds or so of her report, she thanked Ellison, and he responds with this wry smile and says, "Whatever."
Oh, dear.
Oh, well, there goes a little tarnish on Wonder Boy there. So, but
well, okay. Let me get this right. Let me get this right. Let me see if I get this right, sir.
Okay.
Donald Trump is literally just taking money from the bank accounts and going on golf trips, and he's already spent something in the area of $30 million of taxpayer dollars on golf trips. He is doing that freely. They're also flying people all over the place, including to the gulag down in El Salvador. But what has been a fairly common thing, people taking trips and going and visiting South Africa, England, Japan, stuff like this. It's stuff that happens whether it's the state of Chicago or Minnesota. And they go and do these as kind of tour things, good, dignitary things. That's bothering you. But what's going on in D.C. right now, the absolute destruction of our government. That's not the part that you're sticking with. That's the little nugget.
That wasn't what the story was about.
I assure you that Dave is upset about the other stuff too. But
okay,
Dave, the setup was kind of. You took us on a journey.
Attorney General is going to get all defensive, but.
Hold on a second, Dave. You took us on a journey, and Matt was trying to follow along. Yeah. You kind of lost me a little bit too, so I'm gonna take it down a notch. But Dave, what did you want to say while we were all talking over each other? Hold on a second.
I said, I was going to try to say, where was Doge during this?
Oh, you're saying why is it right, the waste.
Yeah, so I guess I hit a raw nerve on Matt's case.
No. You took us on a long. No, I was kind of lost as to where you were going with everything. It was right. Yeah. Okay, Matt. I'm just glad to see that I'm not the only one where I was trying to connect the dots because Dave was on hold for a while. I think he was working up the story for a bit, but his point is that to your point, Matt, that the Doge is not paying attention to the waste and fraud and all this the bills being racked up by Trump and all the things that the Republicans do. I'm not really sure about the Attorney General's thing either. So they were being asked why they were wasted money. Yeah, I'm not sure where you were going with that either, Dave. I apologize.
I love Vulcan chess like the next guy. That being said, I'll say it like this. I get what you're saying in a normal time. Sure. Let's talk about that sort of thing. I dream of the day we can talk about that. But every day I got 5,000 of these things that are far worse. Did you see Christy Noem down at the gulag? Okay, I just want to say
that. I think what we're experiencing, Dave, is that Matt and I try to figure out the things to react to, and you're giving us something else to react to that pales in comparison to some of the other things that we're reacting to. Does that make sense, Dave?
Exactly.
Well, I guess if you steal 3 cents and $3 million, it's no different.
It's not. We're not saying any of that. We're just saying we're not as deeply invested in this story as you are. Yes, go ahead, Matt.
And one thing, let me say this. Democrats have got to stop doing one thing. It's always easier to punch the guy sitting next to you than go across the floor and punch the guy that's actually doing the damage to you. And I get you're frustrated, but if this is your outrage, well, good luck with that. All my best.
I just figured I'd bring the story up because all you ever hear is Trump this, Trump that, and you're just beating on a dead horse.
He's doing all this stuff. Goodness sakes.
I got to wind
up. Trumpy either, friend.
Yeah, no. I know he knows you're not too. I think I've explained that. Thank you, Dave.
Have a good one.
Thanks, Dave. Dave saves up some stories sometimes and wants to share them with us. And I think that he was on hold for a long time. And you and I were both like, okay, I don't know where this goes. There were a lot of people involved. There were a lot of different attorney generals. We're sorry, Dave. But thank you very much.
Patty, I got to let you know, in Janesville, they were going to be replacing a traffic light at a railroad stop. Now, where they got the light was at. I'm sorry. It's a minor thing. I'll pass on it.
See, I think part of it is that I don't often, because the show needs to be a little bit tighter now for our considerations, both in Minneapolis and in Seattle. I think I have to figure out how to manage some of the calls as well, so that because I this isn't the first time where I've been like I can't go there with you on this conversation. So at any rate, but I love to make this a platform where people can call and share their thoughts. I know Dave probably walked away a little bit huffy, but I didn't mean for that.
Well, and Dave, I don't mean any disrespect. I just am like, okay, how I get it. You Like I said, it's easier to punch the guy sitting next to you than it is actually to go to the fight. And right now, Patty and I we're wading into this cesspool every day, and we have to. And sure, I would love to. I would love to be able to focus on something as what seems to be as frivolous as some Democratic attorney generals maybe doing some questionable spending on some travel.
It's being called out by somebody else, and we want Doge to pay attention to what's going on. It's just a lot of dots, and I can only manage so many dots to connect. Thank you.
Exactly.
Matt, what do you got coming up on your show tomorrow, my friend?
Tomorrow I got Jeff Stein, and we'll talk national politics. Obviously, I'm going to have to be reactionary because tomorrow at the beginning of my show, he announces his tariffs. As soon as the Dow closes.
That's right.
I'm going to be a little reactionary. Let's see how fast the economy decides to die. So let's find that out.
All right. That's Matt McNeil. You'll hear him a little bit later tonight. And thank you to all of our sponsors, Source Solar, Monaco Brewing Company, and Kids Above All. Have a great night. Thank you so much, Matt. Love you. Bye, everybody. Thank you, Lady B. Ray Rhodes is up next, followed by that guy.
You just realized your business needed to hire someone yesterday. How can you find an amazing candidate fast? Easy. Just use Indeed. Start at Indeed.com/credit.
AP News, I'm Ben